Don't yank it. If not, you're going to hell. If you think about it, you're going to spend an eternity in damnation. I grew up, going to Catholic church. So I went from that religion and then I joined another religion or participated in another religion. And I've spent actually time in many, many different religions, and I respect all forms of worship. That's the way of an alchemist. But the guilt, the sinner's mind, and the shame built around your S3X energy can be detrimental in those environments. In this video, I'm going to share with you my own learnings of diving deep into the world of S3X from a physical perspective, a mental perspective, an emotional perspective, as well as a spiritual perspective, and show you how to get rid of religious guilt and shame, or at least have a new perspective on it for you to consider so that you can move forward and have a healthy S3X expression. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Nakula and I help men master their S3X energy so you can become a powerhouse both in and outside of the bedroom. Go to the link in the descriptions and take the free S3X transmutation guide so you can learn to transmute that energy and live a life full of health, wealth, and prosperity. Religious guilt is literally killing people. Guilt, regret, shame is some of the most dense negative emotions that people carry with them. It's like carrying a bag of bricks with you through life. Life is already tough. Life already has its challenges. No matter who you are, no matter what part of the world you live in, no matter whether you man or woman, no matter your background, your religion, we all share common things. And one of those common things is challenge. Life will present challenges to you. By carrying around regret, guilt, shame around one of your most basic motivations, your most basic energies, which is S3X. You see, S3X is the way me and you exist. Here's the deal. If you're watching this, somebody had S3X for you to be here. That is the reality. So we're talking about our most basic motivator. Some of our most basic psychological triggers and desires. The root of it is S3X because the root of it comes from our survival need to procreate, have babies, and continue our species. Now, how confusing is it if you're being told that this is an absolutely abominational act, that this is horrible, that this is the worst thing ever, and yet at the same time, you're hearing messages like, well, this is sacred. This is something that you do with someone you love. This is a beautiful thing. This is how you are creating babies. In some traditional families still in India, they're told heavily how S3X is a sin, and to think about it is a sin. And yet the first night of marriage, what are you expected to do to consummate the marriage? Have S3X. This is very confusing. So we need to not look at these things at a surface level. And that was my own journey because I found this messaging very confusing. I found this messaging very contradictory. I found it to be also many different perspectives on it, depending on the guru, depending on the religion. It's like everybody's got their own interpretation. So I thought, I'm going to dive deep into this subject and I'm going to really learn about S3X, and I'm going to try to do it as best as I can in a non-biased, non-judgmental way. It's very difficult because we have to put our own mind, our own culture, everything we've been taught or bought into aside to try to look at it completely as a third party. And that's my work. That's my attempt in this world, in this life, is to look at S3X energy in the most non-judgmental, biased way. And here's what I've discovered specifically when it comes to religious guilt. Largely, it is a misunderstanding of the principle that alchemy is the essence of what they're speaking about. Hence why I've created a whole program called Become a Sexual Alchemist. I talk about semen retention, transmuting, and taking the journey from lust to love. You see, principally, I have found that when we can get away from lustful energies and desires, when lust fills our mind, we tend to be impulsive, We tend to make bad decisions that we regret. And lust isn't just a form of S3X, it's lusty behavior, lusting after fame, being controlled by external circumstances, jealousy, anger. In the Bhagavad Gita, specifically in that text, when Arjuna asks Krishna, why do men go astray? The answer is lust only. And lust turns into anger because when our senses, meaning the body, the mind, the physical, our flesh. So in the Bible, it talks about your flesh and sins of the flesh. It's lust it's referring to. When we covet something. So you look at a beautiful woman and instead of just appreciating her beauty and moving on, you begin to contemplate now that woman. Ooh, I wonder all the things that I can do with her. And then you begin to go into that world of fantasy, especially in the world that we live in, where most of our minds have been skewed by pornography and songs like WAP, and all kinds of crap that are being thrown into our minds. When it comes to S3X, we begin to lust then over that woman. And then when we can't have what we lust over, we then become angry, frustrated. And again, this is not just true for S3X, but when you look at someone's financial situation and you're thinking, oh, I lust for their finances. And then when you can't have it or you don't look at your own account and you don't have it, then you start to become angry or frustrated. This leads to jealousy, envy. This then becomes all-consuming, and when it becomes all-consuming, intelligence is lost. Intelligence is the discriminatory factor, loss of your own personal values and what's important. And that eventually leads you into making choices that either cause disease, dis-ease within the mind, within the heart, disease within the body. It causes negative habits to appear. How many people have negative relationship with food, negative relationship with S3X, negative relationship with money, negative relationships within their relationships? This is because lust has taken over. And so the principles of all religions, and by the way, every single religion or spiritual practice teaches some form of S3X alchemy, whether it's celibacy, whether it's only in marriage, whether it's only in a loving, committed relationship, whether it's have it regulated to once a night. In those I've taken from the Jewish tradition, the Catholic tradition, the Hindus, and the Taoists. All of those are coming from those traditions. So every tradition in the world speaks about some mastery over your S3X energy, but you have to understand it's more than the physical act they're speaking of. It's your lust. It's your drive for looking for satisfaction and pleasure externally rather than getting to the essence of pleasure and bliss, which is spiritual, which is your natural state. The Sanskrit word is ananda. You are ananda. You are blissful. You are loving. Now, anybody knows the wonderful emotions and feelings and fulfillment when you actually are in love. Whether you're in love with someone and you just feel fulfilled in that love, or the love of your cat or dog and you just feel love and you're just like, you don't want anything from them. You're just like, oh my gosh, look at how cute this dog is or cat is or whatever it is. Or you have just a general sense of love and well-being for a friend. You got a buddy that you're just like, man, I love this guy. And how you would do anything for that person. That is the true essence. Now, what happens is now we can talk about controlling people. I believe that's one factor why religions preach such almost negative viewpoints on S3X is, in one way, it's a control mechanism. Confuse people at the S3X level and you've got them. You've got them hooked. Make them lusty, which is what mainstream culture is doing. Mainstream culture is pushing a narrative that is making people lusty. It's destroying consciousness, family values. It's destroying our society. So be very conscious of these very new philosophies that have emerged and look at what it's actually. Don't just get caught up in the ideology of it. Look at the results. Are people happier, stronger, healthier, more fulfilled, more peaceful? Or is there more division, more arguing, more cheating, more lying, more dishonesty, more poverty? The results of the philosophy or the fruits of the philosophy will speak for itself. So be very conscious that you're not just falling for some ideology. S3X can be used as a way to control and manipulate people, confuse people about their identity, confuse people about the sacredness of S3X energy, and now you reduce them to animals, which makes them easy to manipulate, easy to exploit, and easy to control. I believe this is happening at a larger level in our society right now that we must be conscious of. I also believe that over time, it has become a way of protection. So in a sense, like a parent sometimes doesn't know how to get the message across, so they use fear as a motivation. If you steal, you're going to go to jail. Here's the difference between the religious mind, which is a sinner's mind, versus the alchemist mind or the realized mind. So the difference between I'm reading the religious material, whichever it is, and I'm trying to live by those principles, as opposed to I've realized why these principles exist. The religious mind is the sinner's mind, which somebody externally tells you, don't have illicit S3X, save it till marriage, keep yourself pure, keep yourself in a loving situation. And you abide by those. You don't abide by it because you really have bought into it, but you abide by it because of fear. No difference to why most people stop at a stop sign. You don't really want to stop at that stop sign, but you don't want to get a ticket. So fear is a very big motivator. So hence, many religious preachers will teach S3X principles through a fear-based lens. You'll be damned to hell if you wank it. You'll be damned to hell if you lust over that girl. The realized mind says, man, I've tried it. I've tried all kinds of ways of living, and I've realized that S3X energy is sacred. You can't separate emotion from it. You can't separate mental and psychological makeup from it. And it should be treated with the topmost value and respect. I've realized by my own experience and practice that it's better to stay away from illicit S3X. And it's much more beautiful and natural in a loving, expressive way. That's the difference. See, I encourage you to go down the path of realization, which is more experiential, which is what I teach in the alchemy practices. It's not a philosophy, it's an energetic practice of transforming your lust into love by transmuting that energy, that most powerful energy, creative energy, bonding energy, so that you can bond with your higher values, your hopes, your dreams, so you can be a man in this world and love your wife and have awesome children if you're having children, and be an amazing father, be a leader, a provider, and protector and producer at the highest levels you can, through experience, through practice. So you realize it for yourself, so you don't need me. The religious mind reads things at a surface level. They look at its surface. Well, my guru told me don't have illicit sex. My priest told me don't masturbate. My Sifu told me XYZ, so I do it because I'm afraid that I'm a sinner. But you are not inherently a sinner. You are inherently good. But religion has told you you are not. But that is a misunderstanding in my perception and my realizations, is that actually you are part and parcel of God, and God is inherently good. You are part and parcel of nature, and nature is good. Nature is abundant. Nature is peaceful. Nature has some violence to it, but it's used in a very useful way. You can say the tiger is violent to the antelope, But you can also see that it's not out of harmony of the total ecosystem. Sin just simply means out of harmony. You want to use your S3X energy and all your energies in harmony with the overall ecosystem in which you live and find yourself. And that means here on planet Earth. You are part and parcel of the ecosystem, so your job is to live in harmony and cooperate with that ecosystem and use your consciousness and intelligence to live that way. As human beings, you have free will and choice. The idea of sin comes from the actions that you take that are outside of harmony. And you know what they are because you have an inner guide inside of you saying, hey, you probably shouldn't do that. It pre-warns you. And then it makes you feel guilty and regret after. That's how you know. Listen to it. Stop ignoring it. Stop using ideology and philosophy and your intelligence to override your consciousness. Your consciousness is speaking to you constantly. Call it the Christ within or Krishna within or God within or whatever you want to call it. It's had innumerable names, but it's speaking to you always. And it never leaves you. And it always loves you, even in the worst of your decisions or sin. So align with your inner consciousness. Go deep within yourself. And again, that's what I show you how to do through alchemy. Learn to listen to the inner guide, which is telling you what is right and what is wrong. The external moral principles and philosophies of the world are simply expressions of those who have gone within and realized some things for themselves. You must take that journey for yourself so that you can realize who you are for yourself. So you can believe your religion, nothing wrong with that, or you can realize God for yourself. It will be a much different experience. You'll see people who are religious that don't realize the information become fanatical. Or they're religious when it's convenient. That's not a realized soul. That's the religious mind. The realized soul doesn't have to be told, don't steal. They simply have a consciousness that says, hey, I'm not going to steal that because that is outside of harmony. Why would I steal from my neighbor when me and my neighbor should be cooperating? Why would I hate somebody? That's just when they are part of me and I am part of them. We are cooperating. The realized soul doesn't need to say, don't have illicit S3X. Don't watch pornography. Don't talk ill of people. Don't gossip. Because you've realized that these things don't work. They bring you inner pain and turmoil and suffering. And we all want to alleviate our suffering and live peaceful, healthy lives for as whatever time that nature has allotted for us. So I encourage you to get rid of the religious guilt. And if you need help doing that, reach out to me, connect with me. I've gone down that journey in few different religions now. And I don't live with guilt. I don't live with regret. That doesn't mean I haven't made mistakes or that I'm sinless. I would never claim that. I'm a man just like you, and I have all the desires of the flesh just like you. But I have also taken up these practices, which has helped me give my spirit strength to realize this is the way, the natural way of living. This is the way of the alchemist. So reach out, connect with me. There's links for free programs, and there's a link to my schedule so you can get on my schedule, connect with me, and let's have a deeper discussion. And let me share with you the process of alchemy so you can realize this for yourself. I'll see you on the next video.